Hello everyone, it's me, Coffee Stitcher. It is August 1st. I apologize for my absence. How is everybody? Awesome, that's really good to hear. So July was a hectic month. End of June, early into July was just much more um, involved personally than I'd anticipated. Um, if I'm honest, I needed a little bit of a break from FlossTube. I've noticed recently that my comments have really dropped, which that's not necessarily why I do it, um, but I just was sort of in a funk. Kind of felt like, I don't know, I just didn't really feel like I had a lot to say. I really, pretty much the month of July, I only worked on one project. So I really didn't have a lot to show. Um, and I had stuff going on with the Oz Club. My grandmother had to be moved to a assisted care facility. Obviously, I have shifted things around in here, and they're not totally set, so I apologize that it looks like a disaster behind me. I have a desk now, so my computer's on that. I haven't fixed that part yet because I just haven't had the time or energy. So it's been a whole thing. So I am back, obviously, this week. I'm going to try to continue doing weekly videos, but it may not always be weekly. It's going to depend a lot on if I have something to say, because I feel like, I know some people do like just short 10-minute videos, but for me, the amount of time involved in just a 10-minute video, sometimes it's like, well, I don't really feel like this. I feel like this is time that I'm not really wasting, but it's not being used effectively. So if I feel like I've got a lot to say, if I've got a lot of questions to answer, then yes, we'll do the weekly. If not, it may end up becoming bi-weekly. Um, and probably on the weeks that we don't have Oz Talk. So, um, all that being said, um, all that being said, yes. This has been one of those. It's already one of those days, I can tell. Um, so, um, we've got a little bit of Q&A. We've got only a tiny little teensy bit of haul. And then I've got some whip updates, some things to discuss. So that's kind of exciting. Um, so we will dive right on in. Um, okay, so the first question comes from Stacy Katz, and she asks, "What motivated you to try the Aurifil threads? Are they less expensive or have more colors?" What actually prompted that? Aurifil has an artisan program. They select about 20 people a year, and it's a little bit like a sponsorship. So there are challenges, there are things we're supposed to do. They like us to do an Instagram takeover, amongst other things. So we do that, and in return we get to use, they provide the materials for our projects. And I had just started quilting, and someone I was talking to in the quilting world was like, "Well, why aren't you an artisan?" I said, "I've never heard of it." And then when I discovered they did have cross-stitch options, that's what I submitted myself primarily under. Um, so that's what prompted me to try them. I actually really do enjoy using them. I've used their 12 weight, I've used the 28 weight, I've used the floss. The 12 weight, I've never had any problems with knotting or tangling like you do with DMC sometimes. Um, it's very, very nice to work with. It looks really good. I have an example that I'll show y'all here in a few minutes of like mixed together with other things. So it's, so I really enjoy using them. They do not have more colors. There's only 270 colors of Aurifil. And I've already told them this. Their variegated colors, which may work really well for machine quilting, aren't ideal for cross-stitch because the repeat takes too long to get to, so you would lose the effect most of us want as stitchers of variegation. I gave that to them as feedback and said, look, they're beautiful colors, but they don't work in cross-stitch. What they do with that is neither here nor there. But I have really enjoyed using them. So I've got 3 projects that involve Aurifil. I've got one that will have Aurifil. I'm waiting on fabric and my Aurifil delivery to arrive, but that's okay because it's not super pressing. So that's coming. Robin B says, do you have a favorite stitched piece that you have stitched and not one that you rescued? Yes, I do. Actually, there's a lot of them that I really like. I actually have only rescued very, very, very few. Most of what I've rescued hasn't really been rescue, it's been family stuff that as my grandmother or my mother have downsized, they've come to stay with me. So it's not so much that I've rescued them, so much as they've just been passed to me finally. And I've got several pieces that are now mine that I need to figure out what to do with. But unfortunately, my absolute favorite piece is not currently with me. It is with Oliver to be framed or to be finished. So I don't have it to show you, unfortunately. But it's the Longfellow's Round Tower from Tempting Tangles, which is my absolute favorite piece that I've done. It's definitely showing on my Instagram. I don't think I have a handy picture to plop it in with, but it's terrific. Mary McClanahan asks, do the small Aurifil spools pop up on the end caps like Gutterman threads do? The answer is no. And that was the other piece of feedback I gave them, was that there needs to be a better way of handling leftover pieces. So, for instance, the Aurifil floss also comes on these spools. Well, what you end up having is you have your actual, like, where you've cut from tail that you get to tuck back in. Then anything you haven't used has to be wound back on it. As well as if, say, you only needed, like, 6 stitches off of a strand, you've still got to put that strand back on, too. So it's not... That's the one real frustration I have with them, but I did also pass that along, that there needs to be maybe a better way of securing things on the small spools. Now, their bigger spools do twist. So here's the... So here's the white. The white does twist. Which, again, for the 12 weight, it's not so bad because you only got the one strand. With the floss, it can be a little tricky. That's kind of my take there. Something I did learn from working with them is the 28 works like a double strand of DMC or 2 strands of their floss. That one would be a little bit easier because, again, you're pulling just essentially one strand at a time. So if you have excess to wrap over, it's not quite so much. But like I said, for those aspects, I've really enjoyed it so far. Giovanna Betancourt asks, is your Disneyland park map on your wheel? I know you haven't stitched it in ages. I don't even know if it's still a whip. It is not. There's a story behind it that I'm not going to go into. I like the piece very much, but there were some events surrounding it that just... Yeah, I have a story that I won't go into. But my friend who was stitching it with me did finish, and it looked fantastic. So... Weaving Rainbow asks, are there any tips stitching on even weave or linen? Is it over 1 easier than over 2? What I will say is, first off, I really do not enjoy doing over 1 stitching. It's so tiny, and it takes so much longer, and I really and truly don't feel like the finished look is worth the stress, for me at least. Now, there are some people that really enjoy it. There are some people that think it's the best thing ever. I do not begrudge those who feel that way. But for me, personally, we're gonna have a throwback quote here. It's not my bag, baby. Yeah, I totally watched Austin Powers the other week, so I've had this whole, Austin Powers thing in my head for a while. I'm not a child of the 1990s, no, not at all. So I do find over 2 easier. The nice thing, especially if you've got a lot of fractionals or very particular back stitching, doing it on even weave or linen is always makes that aspect easier. So personally, I really, really do. I like both Ada, I like even weave, I like linen, but my choice is always going to be to stitch over 2 and not over 1. Lynch Helton asks a good question. She says, what is your favorite project that you have done? And again, that's probably Longfellow's Round Tower. Was my absolute favorite. The Satsuma Street Oz was getting real close to usurping it, but it didn't. My favorite that I'm waiting to do, which is actually one that I'll be starting soonish, is going to be Casting a Spell from Blackbird Designs. Is in my rotation. We'll see what happens when I spin the wheel. But I'm real excited to do that. I'm doing the sampler version of it. And one that I'm looking for or haven't purchased yet. There really isn't... I don't tend to be one that I do a lot of, I don't tend to fall for a lot of the out-of-print patterns. They're not generally my style. One I really do want to do that I haven't purchased or kitted up yet, I do want to do Witchy Stitchers. We are the grandchildren of the witches you didn't burn, because I think that's fantastic. But otherwise, I don't really... There's not anything that readily pops to mind. I feel bad. I feel like I should have had my Longfellow handy. Let me see if I can... No, I don't want to stop and search through my Instagram. That's just going to take too much time. But yes, so you'll see Casting a Spell here in a few moments when I go into my still to work on whips. Imogen asks, how many whips do you have that aren't in your active rotation? And we're not going to go to that number, because I don't really know. Probably more than I want to think that I've got. I think all told, I really have about 50 projects that I've started that I want to continue or get back to and just haven't. But we'll see. And then, do I have any plans to do a whip parade soon? Well, you're going to get a sort of one today. Maybe next time or so, I'll go through what I've actually got started, and it may be a good way for me to go, you know what, I really don't ever want to work on this again. Let's just cut our losses. That's a good way to term it. Oh, actually, Lynch Hilton, there is one that I do really want to start, Snowy Days, from Mirabilia. That's the one. It's the snowman with the really cute border. That's kind of Mary Inglebrighty. I do really want to start that one. Thank you to the people who reached out to check in on me. Like I said, it was a very busy couple of weeks, and I was having to do a lot of things to record for the Oz Club's virtual convention, which is next weekend. Which you can also, please, if you enjoy me, if you enjoy Oz, or if you just don't have anything to do Friday evening, we are doing a live Oz talk. It will be streaming to YouTube on the Oz Club's official channel. And it should be pretty, hopefully, exciting. We'll be taking some live audience questions. I'll be there looking all sparkly and wonderful like normal. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's next week at 6 Central on Friday. But it will be, of course, available after it's finished airing. So if you aren't available at that time, you don't feel like you're going to miss it if you can't be there. Okay, so my haul is my 2 Fabric of the Months that we've missed from Fortnite. I'm doing, again, the Expensive Rich collection. So this one is tailor-made. It's a really pretty, like, light pink with some blue. Go. Alright, that's put away. The other one is Selfie No Filter, which is a very pretty blue and sort of purpley gray. Like, in some lights the modeling looks gray, and in some it looks sort of more, it looks a little more purple. So, very, very pretty. Okay, we'll pick that up in a second, since apparently I'm having difficulties with that. Good lord, I'm having all kinds of problems. What am I doing here? Okay, there we go. Alright, so, as many of you know, the Satsuma Street Wizard of Oz sale began. And I'm stitching it on Willow from Deerfoot Fabrics. The first... I was going like gangbusters on it. So, first off, I basically only worked on it the entire month. So, here's where I am on it. I've got the borders done. I've got the first 3 panels done. I've just got the last 2 and 1 rainbow. The changes you can immediately see are I changed the emeralds to represent the different colored countries of Oz. So the northern country is purple, that's the Gilligan country. The eastern one is Munchkinland, it's blue. The Quadlings are red, and it's a ruby, and then the Winkies over in the west are yellow. I need to do a different outline backstitch for the yellow to make it show up a little better. Yes, I know, blue should be over here, yellow should be over there. However, I don't have it handy to show you. The original map that L. Frank Baum drew had the east and the west reversed. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of argument over whether that was on purpose or on accident. But the first published map up through like the mid-20s had Munchkin Country and Winky Country flipped on the map. So that's what I did here. In this first little part, I didn't really do a ton of changing. I did do the skin is over 1. I did silver with ruby ankle straps and heels on the shoes. And then I used Whisper to backstitch all of the beards and her hair. I also added metallics to her dress. So, and it's a little bit hard to see when I eventually get it and I did post on Instagram, so you can kind of see. So, the skin is over 1. You've got primarily, my border is DMC. The majority of the interior is Aurifil's 12 weight. Now, the gray in his beard and there in her shoes, that's the Aurifloss. As well as the pink in her cheeks and the pink in the flowers. So that kind of gives you an idea. It looks very nice. It looks very uniform. My friend Imogen recharted the rainbows so that they would make a ring versus the rainbows going this way instead of all going out. And I liked that, so she let me steal that. In the poppy field, the only real change, I did decide to convert Toto to look like Phoebe. And going forward, all of my Oz patterns, Toto will be a different one of our dogs. And then I made the Tin Man Rusty. So, and I haven't finished the backstitch because I didn't have Whisper in those colors like I wanted. I'm using Silk Lame braid for the rainbows. Actually, for a lot of the metallic, I'm using Silk Lame braid, and I'm using fuzzy stuff for the clouds. Then down here, this one had a few more changes. So, and I got the crows and bees from Imogen, because she did those. I used blue fuzzy stuff for both the witch's hair and the detailing on the monkey wings. Which I went for a more yellow-green to try and tie her more into the Winkies. But I was afraid if I went yellow, that might come off like a very inappropriate stereotype. So that's why I stuck to yellow-green there. I made her cap the golden cap. There are going to be some beads added that I just haven't added yet. And again, this light gray is Aurifil Floss. We've got all sorts of Krynic and things like that in there. I gave her an eye patch, and then I gave her silver whistle for the wolves. The next two panels, this one are going to have there's only going to be a minor change to this one. It's the four friends. Originally, it's them leaving the wizard, with their gifts. But then for some inexplicable reason, the center block is the wizard and his balloon over Emerald City. Which I have some major issues with. Not the least of which is, the wizard really to me is more the villain of the piece, and I don't feel like a feminist fairy tale like The Wizard of Oz should have the cis white male con man who essentially sends an 8-year-old girl on a suicide mission in the center for prominence. So I've got problems there. So I'm going to be changing it. Right now I've got a plan. Not entirely convinced I'm sure of my plan, but I've got my plan. So my plan is I'll leave the Emerald City and flip it so that it looks like the four friends on the next to last panel are headed towards the Emerald City. And then we'll figure out the rest from there. Yeah, so it was on its way to being my favorite piece, and then that happened. So, yeah. So, after that last part released, and I got very sad, upset, frustrated, annoyed, what have you, and mopey, because I was mopey. So what I decided I was going to do is I needed to just work on other things. What I decided to do is I wanted to go through the whips that were in my rotation wheel and just work one evening on them, see if I still enjoyed working on them, and let the wheel sort of pick at random. Friday night, I did keep on. I took the Oz up to work to be a work project because I had to finish the border and a couple other things. And I was close enough that Friday night, I thought, you know what, let me just go ahead and finish this on out, and then we'll go from there. My current plan is I'll work through each of my projects in the rotation, work through each of those one day, then do a part on Wizard, then go through my rotation again, finish Wizard. And then after that, we'll get on to a more traditional rotation again. But that way I get Oz finished, but I still get to work on some other things. So, that being said, what did I work on this week? Well, I worked on, and these are in no particular order. Let's see, I worked on Alice in Wonderland from Owl Forest Embroidery. And I got probably in one evening, I managed to get about half of part 1 done. So here it is. There's not a good, overall photo of the pattern yet, because it's a mystery style. But I did get this much done. So I'm mostly trying to get over to the parts where I can actually start working on the fun stuff. So I'm getting there, finally. But that's where I'm at. So I am using mostly Orphil, however I am using Wonderland Arts for the archway. And I'm stitching this on Charming Autumn. It's a 32 count Lugana from X Jude Design. So that's where I'm at. Okay. All right, I worked on Anne Frank. This is from Gera. It's available on Creative Poppy's website. Let's see, let's get these all pulled up so I can show you what I worked on. Sorry, I always forget that Creative Poppies are. And the designer's name is Kyoko Maruoka. This is my Stitch Asia piece. So there's you can get to see my nice ring light. There's the full piece. And here's what I got done on it. So I finished up this little tall part here. It's part of the roof. I got the bookcase done, and I got part of the ceiling and down that side done. So slowly but surely getting there on Diary of Anne Frank. I worked on Little Women. This is actually going to be my work piece for a little bit, because this house is going to be kind of brutal. But I got the roof outline and part of it done. So this is from Stitching Book Club. The third part is out. I think the fourth part comes out here soon. So I'm behind on it, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm going to take it to work. I'm going to work on getting the house done. And this is on Fortnite Fabrics. This is on Eccentric Sky. It was one of their desert themes. So that's a work piece. I worked on Beatrix Potter. I didn't get as much done that night. It was one of those nights where just not a lot happened, which is fine. That happens. So, but I did at least get a little done on her. This is from Primitive Hare. But I did definitely enjoy working on her, so... There wasn't any of them that I worked on this week that I was like, I don't really like working on this. So there's the full pattern. And I worked on Quirky Cryptid. These are by Darling and Whimsy. This is on Mayflower from Deerfoot Fabrics. And I started working on the Yeti. So that's where that is. And there's not a good picture. There's not a picture of the Yeti finished, so you'll just have to wait and see. So that's what I worked on yesterday. So I think the next time I work on it, I'll have it finished. They're very quick stitches. Alright, so what do I have left to work on? Well, we've got chickens. So that's where I'm at on chickens. And here's the full design. Oop, that's upside down. We've got Woodland Faerie. It's upside down. There we go. Yeah, I'm real close on the border on that one, to the edge of the fabric on that one, but that's okay. So, it's really pretty. I'm looking forward to getting more of it done. Mostly because I'm ready to work on another Mira, but I don't want to have two of them going at once. Right, then we've got Casting a Spell, which I haven't started. So here is the pattern itself, or because it's supposed to be done in a box, and I actually really like the box idea. The problem I ran into is I can't find a similar box that's available from somewhere other than Hobby Lobby, and I will not give them my money. So that's necessitating that I do the sampler version. That's okay. And I'll be doing it on Texas Wildflower from Deerfoot. Sort of a nice purple. And I will also be using the purple floss that I got from Deerfoot, which that's too reflection-y. And it's not really showing very true to color how it is. It's showing much more blue when it's really fairly, let's see if I put a card behind it. That's closer. That's much closer to what it looks like. But it's stonking beautiful. And I've got two Aurifil. This was one I had ordered an Aurifil for, and I'm not going to end up being able to use, but I've got two colors of Aurifil for it, and I've got to pick one more. I've got to pick an orange. And then, last but not least, Quiltz. from Long Dog. So, and here's what it looks like. So I'm on to another page. I haven't decided if I'm going to go up or down, though. I haven't decided yet, but I'll either go there or there. All right. So, and since you're all here, I might as well spin the wheel and find out what I'm going to work on today, which I'll start after this is recorded. There we go. There's only 4 that it could be. We're starting casting a spell today. Awesome. So, we will get going on casting a spell. Alright, so casting a spell it is. We'll get started on that. And I do have plans to do the Cryptid Salve from Witchy Stitcher. That's what I'm waiting on Fabric and Aurifil for. But I know the frame drops shortly, and we have a month for the full frame, so I'm a little intimidated to see what that's going to look like. And then we'll go from there. So, anyhow, I hope everyone has a great week. I appreciate, again, those who reached out to me. And I will see y'all maybe next week, maybe not. We'll see what the week brings. So, have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time.